Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So for today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Cube Miracle because this is one of the most highly requested videos right now. So I'm sorry if this is a little bit messy because I'm just trying to piece together my thoughts throughout this process. So it's kind of awkward, but I'm going to address it right now. So the thing is, you're not going to be able to outspeed the enemies in Cube Miracle, okay? So it is quite well known that the enemies are super fast. So as you can see, that was like 197 Long Mian. And if you take a look at this Alexa, she has plus 207. And this is an Eerie Defender, that's not even a Met Defender, so there's actually no speed difference between Met Defenders and Eerie Defenders. It's just maybe just the HP stats and damage and all that. So knowing that you're not going to outspeed them, what can you do to make sure that, you make the most out of it and you preempt yourself in case they take the first turn, right? Bringing a speed team is most of the time not going to make a lot of sense because they are just going to take the first turn, and if you're running a speed team, you're most probably going to get cleaved. So ideally, the best way that at least to me, the best way for me to engage them is to definitely bring a tanky setup like this. Okay, so first we have Gabriel, who has a lot of HP, Jinyu Yao, who have a lot of HP, Tricky has a lot of HP as well, Clara, a lot of HP, and only one offensive Esper, and that's going to be Sender for me because he's very fast and he does a lot of damage. So ideally, you want to have a mixture of support healers or buffers or even crowd control. So it's just a good mixture of all of that. So it might not make a lot of sense to use Espers like Nama because Nama AoEs a lot. And the thing is, because they are so tanky, right? They have almost 70,000 HP. He's not going to do a lot, especially if they have a healer. Well, thankfully, they don't have a healer in their lineup here. But if let's say they have a Hengrie, you're actually not going to do anything at all. So I think what's very powerful is Espers with very strong single target hit. So Liling is one such Esper who scales off the enemy's max HP as well. So he's one really good pick. But some terrible picks are going to be like Chloe, because Chloe does random DPS, right? And her damage is not exactly that high per hit, per se. So you want to have Espers like Chalmers. I think Chalmers is very powerful over here. And you might also want Espers like Lewis. Okay, so Lewis does a lot of single target damage, especially with his second skill into his third skill combo. So going back a little bit, ideally you want your team to be very tanky in order to survive the first hit that they're going to do to you, because they are most likely going to turn one land a lot of buffs, a lot of debuffs, a lot of damage and all that. So in my opinion, it makes a lot of sense to run Gabriel as a lead, which gives you even more HP, so that makes you a little bit more tanky. But for example, in this stage, right, I'm definitely going to be outsped by this Long Mian, and he's probably going to freeze everyone on my team. Well, let's say I do not have a Jinyu Yao, right? What else can I do? Very simple. So let's say you have a Hengrie, right? What you can do is to give her light above over here, make her immune so that she can use her Golden Moon immediately when she takes a turn. So basically she cleanses everyone on your team, but well, granted she has to be the fastest on your team as well. But she will cleanse everyone on your team of the debuffs. So that's going to be one strategy, I would think. So we are very focused on how we can counter attack rather than how we can initiate an attack. So a lot of the strategies over here is going to be preemptive in nature. So that actually helps me to design, the runes that I want to focus on. So for example, these are some of the runes that I've acquired thus far. So some of the runes here that, makes a lot of sense is going to be let's say for example, Rune of Pursuit, right? When an allied Esper casts any ability, well, this is the upgraded version, they have a 30% chance of summoning any of your allies to cast a basic ability. So you can actually summon everyone on your team to use a normal attack. And the reason why this is so potent is because you're going to be outsped a lot and your team is not going to take so many turns as opposed to the enemy. So one way that you can mitigate that, or rather compromise that sense, is to have Rune of Pursuit so that your team takes a few more hits in as well. And obviously I do not have that other rune, but that gives your allies a 20% chance to take another turn. If they pursuit from this rune, they actually have a 20% chance to gain another turn that way. So hopefully we do see it later on so that I can show you guys. But that's just going with chance. So some other runes that make a lot of sense is going to be Rune of Fortitude. So because you're going to take the second turn, right, most of the time you're going to be destroyed by the enemy Lewis. So I feel like in Cube Miracle, Lewis and Hyde are the most dangerous Espers to face. And for some reason Tang Xuan as well, but Tang Xuan is more like an AoE Esper. So this is going to protect you a lot from Lewis, and he's also going to protect you a lot from Hyde. So as you can see over here, tanky teams work really well because you're going to survive the first hit, right? So if you're going to survive the first hit, you're going to be able to land your skills and heal yourself, do a little bit of stunts, and then you can counter attack. And that's how you clear most of the stages over here, or at least in my opinion, this is what worked the best for me instead of using speedy comps. But of course, with that said, my defensive team over here is rather fast, okay? So their speed is not bad as well. I think it's generally close to 200 or 200 plus. So it's going to be quite important that, while you are tanky, you are also fast. Just don't assume that you're going to outspeed them. So I'm stressing this a lot. Your main focus is going to be counter attack, which is also going to determine, the runes that you're going to find along the way and what you're going to select. Okay, so for example here, these are not necessarily that good, right? There is accuracy, And here there is, at the start of battle, inflicts hamstrung on enemies that nullifies their AP up, which is very specific against tier teams, right? So these runes are actually terrible. And on the other hand, right, these runes here, they're also not that good, because this requires you to kill an enemy in order to reduce your cooldowns by 1 turn. That's not much. And Rune of Enchantment, this only increases the damage of your basic attack by, 30% up to 150%. I tend to not go for just straight up DPS runes. I feel like that's not very effective. You want runes that promote counter-offensive. So I think over here I'm just going to go with accuracy. I think this is probably the best among the rest, but this is just my opinion, of course. You can go for whichever. You feel that, maybe you're lacking a little bit in DPS, then you might want to go for more DPS, but generally from my experience, it's not that good. Okay, and here's another very important thing. So there's a difference between Eerie Defenders and Mad Defenders. Okay, so naturally Mad Defenders are going to be a lot harder. They probably have like a lot more stats, right? So as you can see here, she has like 82,000 HP, whereas let's say for Eerie Defenders, 71k HP, so slightly less HP and generally just lesser stats across the board. However, what makes Mad Defenders so tasty is because they have a chance of dropping gold records. However, as you can see from Eerie Defenders, they only drop Nexus Crystals, so you will not have an opportunity to get gold records over here. So if you are like a stronger player, I would highly suggest you to go for Mad Defenders whenever you can. And here's another tip for you guys. So let's say you're losing this fight, right? What you can do is just go to settings and go to leave, and you will actually leave the fight without losing any of your Esper. So if like, let's say my sender died over here for some reason, I can just leave and come back in and he will still be alive. So that's one strategy that you guys can employ. Is that an exploit? I don't think it's an exploit. So some of you guys might feel like, if you run a tanky comp, you're going to take forever to beat it. But in my opinion, it makes a lot more sense to actually beat it than to rush it and end up losing some of your Espers along the way. So ideally, you do not want to lose any of your Espers, and that's the reason why I'm like settling for 5-minute runs. Alright, so we have reached another junction. So here are some of the runes that we can choose. So one is Allied Espers have a 30% chance of getting Storm for 1 turn, basically nullifying all damage when you are immobilized, which is actually pretty good for counter-attacking, right? So for example, if the enemy has a Longmian and he stuns and he freezes your entire team at the start, this would actually protect you by preventing your team from receiving damage, which can be very powerful. Now this one is not bad as well, right? Allied Espers gain elemental advantage when fighting against enemies of the same elemental class. This actually upgrades to all elemental classes. So that means that enemies have a 50% chance of missing you if you upgrade this. This is so powerful as well. Now these ones, I would say that they are not good at all. Okay, so the first one is Rune of Dauntlessness. Allied Espers deal extra damage per 1% HP loss. That is not good at all. This Rune of Assault increases allied attack by 25%. So like I said before, going for just pure DPS is not going to help you that much. What you need are runes like this that will help you with your counter offensive. Unfortunately, we did not get the rune that I was so focused on. So the one that I really wanted to see is the one that actually sleeps the enemy lineup at the start. So it upgrades to a full stun at the start of the turn, which means that they are going to lose their turn advantage. And that is another way that you can improve your counter offensive. Unfortunately, we don't have very good ones here. So this one is like when an Allied Esper takes a deadly hit, they gain reversal, which delays their death by 1 turn. This is trash. This one is okay, but not very good. Now these are pretty much trash, right? So you have a 50% chance to increase the debuff duration by 1 turn. That's not very good. Yet it doesn't actually affect disables. And this one is Rune of Curses. Allied Espers have a 50% chance to inflict poison for 1 turn when attacking. But this is something that you guys could fall prey into. So like let's say between those two nodes, right? I went for the one with like a little bit better runes. However, by doing so, I lose the ability to achieve this upgrade node over here, right? This rune amplification. So because of that, I lose out a little bit. So apart from your healers, your defense buffers, and your crowd control Espers, so as you can see, I do use Rune of Pursuit. So how do you maximize the use of Rune of Pursuit? Basically, you use Espers with very good first skills. So Espers with really good first skills are Espers with AP control on their first skill, Espers with stuns on their first skill, and probably Espers with slows on their first skill as well. So a lot of AP control, a lot of crowd control on their first skill. So apart from Sander, who has a really good first skill, Melanie has AP control on her first skill, and Jean, Jin Yuyao, and Tang Yun have stuns on their first skills. So that way, when any of your allies take a turn, right, when they use any skill, you have the potential to follow up with a stunning attack or AP control or slows and all that kind of stuff. So these Espers really help to maximize the turns that you take. And obviously we can go on to talk a little bit more about Ocean Waves and why it's so good over here. Because whenever you take a turn, you have a 35% chance to reduce the skill cooldowns of all of your skills. So that is one way that you can deal with constantly being outsped by the enemy. And apart from Ocean Waves, obviously Avatara is going to be very potent as well. So when they attack you, you will then have a probability of counter-attacking, which is also more ways that you can gain turns without necessarily gaining turn and moving more. So generally, I would recommend Ocean Waves and Avatara on your Cube Miracle team. So here's the thing, right? If you reach the boss stage, it's actually not super essential for you to clear the boss because he only drops like this kind of stuff that is quite forgettable. So he drops gold, which can be easily replenished. He drops relics, which can also be very easily replenished. And he drops cube stone, which is, while useful, is not necessarily going to be that game changing. Okay, it's not like he drops gold records or that kind of stuff. So ideally what you want is to be able to at least clear as much as you can in the third wave and just keep doing that for every single Cube Miracle run. So that's basically it for the Cube Miracle. I hope you guys learned something from this. I mean, it is a very rough guide, and honestly there's not much to talk about besides, you know, just having the right espers to use, just a tanky setup, and selecting runes that, you know, benefit like counter-offensive tactics, right? So I think these are the main points in this video. I'm sorry that it dragged on a little bit too long. So that's about the main takeaway over here, and with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now this has been Daddy Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.